Kristen, Kyle, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks for having us. Come
Welcome.
on. Just wrapping up our trip, 3 days. And the big takeaway here is I never travel any place just to see one person. So when you sales guys are out there traveling, you need to then try and find 1 or 2 or 3 other people to see.
The commodity manager of Electrolux wanted me to text her. That was her preferred method of contact. She was getting 200 emails a day. She said, just text me. This was 5 years ago. I'm like, okay. Literally could get her every time.
What's up, guys? Kyle Milan here with Manufacturing Tribe TV. Today we're at MD&M Minneapolis show.
You're always going to remember that person that was different than everybody else. So it's taught standing out and being unique.
We're back with another episode. We've increased some of our production value, so hopefully you guys enjoy it. Brett's got a question. How segmented do you make the emails every 2 to 4 weeks? Are you sending to the broad group of contacts or do you customize? I think that you could do it both ways, but I think in general, everybody needs to see your content. Everybody needs to see something that you're creating and something that you can provide value to.
You can tell a story a whole lot faster in a 3-minute video than you can in a 14-page article or 10 2-page articles.
Everything's about brand awareness and content right now, and it will continue to be that. So focus on producing some sort of content, and if you're selling B2B, which I'm assuming most people here are, focus on LinkedIn.
Number one, we do not charge for this stuff. I put all of my content out there for free. Send it to somebody that you feel may get some value out of it, and also engage. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. We'll get to all of the comments after the break. Those comments mean the world to us because it shows that you guys care. So don't just sit there and watch, but please engage and hit those thumbs on LinkedIn. What is up, guys? I'm Kyle Milan, and we have a change in format this week for today's show. Normally on Mondays, we talk about industrial marketing, but we have been flooded through direct messaging, email directly through me, through our sales channel, things like that. And I'm like, you know what? Let's change it up. And this week, we're going to try something new. We're going to just do a straight up Q&A. This doesn't have to necessarily be live Q&A. There's questions that have come in. Nick is in the back end. He's going to be throwing those questions up on the screen, and I'm going to respond to them as candid as possible. I have not seen the questions ahead of time. And so in the future, guys, if you want to send in a question and you don't make it to the live, we have an email address up there, which is askkyle@mfgtribe.com. Shoot your questions over there. Let us know if you want to remain anonymous or not. And then when we come on the show on a weekly basis and just do straight up Q&A, we're going to pull 3 questions that we feel are good. And then I'm going to answer them live with no pre-screened footage and not looking at them. And we'll see where it goes. So we're going to start it off with the first question Nick just threw in there. With the workforce shortage we're all experiencing right now, we know we need to change our approach for hiring for our relatively small manufacturing shop. What kind of changes should we make? Should we highlight the company more or just the open positions? So this is kind of like a follow-up to that live we did last week with Factory Fix. So what changes should you make? Things that I have heard repeatedly from our customers and from prospects is like, we had to increase our hourly rate to remain competitive. That's where you got to start first. Are you paying your people enough? Look at the compensation packages you have. I mean, with COVID, coming out of COVID and all the shutdown stuff, a lot of people are cozy sitting at home, collecting unemployment checks, possibly still getting federal funded unemployment checks. So you got to entice them to come back into the workforce or entice them to change careers. And what information do you have out there that's about it? So you can't just expect to post something on Indeed, post something on Facebook, Craigslist, if you're still using that stuff, and expect all of these operators and forklift drivers and things like that to just show up. You got to separate yourself. We've got numerous clients that are in manufacturing towns and industrial towns where they're competing with other companies. And they've had to raise the bar with their hourly rate, raise the bar with referral bonus, sign-on bonus, things like that. But then when that doesn't work and you're still not getting what you want, one tactic that works is creating branded content around your company and around that specific job. If you have the resources available, then creating videos about that job is an awesome way to show people what that job's like before they take it. I mean, that could be something as simple as, like, you may think like, oh, an operator, a cell lead, a warehouse person, a fork truck driver. Like, you're driving a fork truck, read the description. But if everybody's doing that same thing, how do you stand out? Why don't you interview one of your current employees and ask them questions about why do they pick to work here? Why do they like working here? What type of growth, training, support system does management have? Putting that out there to show people, then when they come to your job page, being able to see that and be like, oh, that's cool. Do some B-roll footage of the manufacturing shop. Like, you don't have to hire an agency like ours per se that are going to do this high quality production value and create this dope video for you. You can use people, local resources, try and keep it on the cheap. If you've got a lot of jobs open, you can hire a video production company that's local to shoot it for you. You just have to direct the narrative. You have to make it to where it's like, this is what we want to do. We want to interview this person who has this job, ask them 4 questions, show B-roll footage of those people doing those jobs and explaining why they love working for your company. And that's just one other tool to separate you. But you have to also understand, in the higher up positions, a lot of our customers and prospects are like, they're like, dude, I want a salesperson, but I want them to work at the facility. Like, those days are over. Like, I feel like they were over before COVID. Now they're definitely over. A lot of people want to work from home. They want to work remote. And in a lot of management positions and higher up positions in industrial companies, they can do that. Maybe they have to be local to you. They're in the state, they're in the bigger city. But expecting them to come into the office every day, like, COVID broke that for most industries, industrial included. Some salespeople have already been outside, right? Like, that's like a lot of salespeople are already outside sales reps, or they're business development managers that work remote, come into the office when they need to. But you have to understand, like, the shift has happened and the mentality is different these days with working in industrial. Like, you can't build up or create a revolution to get all these young people in it, because you're not going to see the benefit of that immediately. When you have immediate job openings, you have to make yourself stand out. You have to increase the hourly rate. You have to remain competitive in the marketplace. You have to create content around that job. You have to post to places that are relevant. Maybe in your town, like, the newspaper is the most relevant because you're a small, like a sleepier type of town where posting the newspaper is good. But you can't just put the yard sign out front and say, we're hiring, and expect people to walk in. You have to create some type of content and then push it out there on the platforms that they're on. Like, Facebook could be very good running strategic Facebook ads at $300 to $400-$500 a month, specifically around your geolocation. I wouldn't do it from a PPC standpoint with Google, but I would say maybe some Facebook brand awareness campaigns going after those types of people. Those could be beneficial, but you really have to figure out, how are you going to stand out? Hopefully that sufficed, Nick. How do you find out who is decision maker persona to target in industrial content marketing? So Platin, I hope that's your name, Platin. This is just a comment that just came in through the live. How do you find it? Like, so you have to understand, I mean, are you like brand new to the industry where you don't know who the decision maker is? If you're going after their persona, like, the persona for most people, whether they're an engineer, operations, purchasing, things like that, for the most part, I would just lump them into their own individual personas. But you have to keep in mind, like, you're not just looking for the decision maker, you're looking for the circle of influence that I've talked about on other episodes, where you want to talk to relative people that are in those industries or other or in those departments or other departments that can influence the decision maker. Nick, throw that question back up there. Let me make sure that I'm answering it correctly. How do you find out who is decision maker persona to target in content marketing? Yeah, I mean, really look at, like I said, who's the one who's going to be making the decision. Figure out who that person is, which the only way to do that, I mean, if you literally know nothing and you're starting from scratch, call some companies and ask who is in charge of this, right? Just pick up the phone and call them. Don't email them. Pick up the phone and call them and ask. And if you're like, oh, they don't have a receptionist or nobody's answering the phone, just dial a different directory and ask them. Like, talk to the GM, talk to somebody in purchasing, talk to somebody in sales, and just say, hey, look, I'm trying to connect with somebody that is in charge of this. Who is that person and what's their title? And they'll say, like, oh, that's Joe, and he's our head of whatever. Once you know that, then you can just work backwards. Then from there, you can figure out who works for them, what other departments are close to theirs. If they're in engineering, they work closely with operations. If they're in sales and marketing work together. Like, you kind of marry those departments together and then hit up all of those people that are within that department. But yeah, if you literally you're starting from scratch and you have nothing, pick up the phone and call and ask the question of whoever it is you can get a hold of, and they should direct you into the right department at least, and then from there just blow it up. What advice do you have for independent sales reps in the manufacturing sector? From Benjamin Cooper. Independent sales reps, man. You guys have it tough because of what happened from 2004 until 2015, which is everybody was like, I'm an independent manufacturer's rep. So the advice I would have is you have to don't just. What I always see is those reps rely on the marketing and the content from the principal that they're representing to then push it out there, which if you represent some larger companies, then they have a lot of collateral out there already. So you can push it out there and have some content to share. But if they don't, you have to create it yourself, which a lot of reps aren't going to do. And you also have to understand that, like, it depends. Some companies you cannot buy direct and you have to go through reps. Other times reps are part of a workforce and they have direct salespeople, and those salespeople can get contacted instead of the reps. So it depends on what your specific situation is. If you throw in a follow-up comment, then we can answer it. I can answer a little bit more specifically. But you have to create stuff. You have to be loud and noisy. Most manufacturers reps are sleeping. Most manufacturers reps are complacent. They've got their book of business. They're not looking to do anything different. They're lazy salespeople. Not saying they're always lazy, but a lot of them are lazy now. They're like, yeah, I make whatever I make and I'm good. And I'm just looking for these customers, repeat purchases and things like that. I'm not really looking to grow or expand my territory or add new prospects or do any heavy lifting with prospecting. But I would treat it no differently. If you're a manufacturer's rep versus a direct salesperson, I would treat the process no differently of building a prospect list, engaging with people on LinkedIn, building out your profile, using Sales Navigator, doing emails, doing phone calls, cold visits, trade shows, all that stuff. That stuff doesn't change. The only thing that changes is, are you the only person that can sell for that principal? Or are you a distribution house and you have a territory, and if anybody wants to buy in that territory, they come to you? It depends on that. So I hope that answered the question. I've got a question that came in before the show. I'm still pretty new to industrial sales, but I'm pretty tech savvy. My big issue is that I just don't know how to read the room yet when it comes to first impressions on LinkedIn. How do I tell if my invites are connect are being well received or they're just annoying? So from that standpoint, I would just say you need to monitor how many connection requests you're sending, right? Like, you can kind of know. I don't feel like you have to get down to the nitty gritties and say, I sent out 100 invitations. I got 14 people that responded within the first 2 days accepted, and then break it down to where there's like super tight percentages. But you should typically, I would say, if your LinkedIn profile is updated, which we talked about last week, and did a whole tutorial on how to update your LinkedIn profile. And if you're going after strategic, relevant people to add to your LinkedIn network, then you should see around a 30 to 50% acceptance rate within the first few days from people that are actually active on LinkedIn. Once it's been like 2 weeks, go to click on my network and go into send connection requests and just start withdrawing them, because most likely they're never going to accept it. And that counts towards your higher end limit of how many open invitations you can have at a time. But you kind of, I don't want to say like you just know, but you kind of know when you're sending them, and just look at it on a weekly basis. Click on, my profile, and then look at how many connections you have and see if it's growing, and then just track that on a weekly basis. You can only send out 100 connection requests a week, so it should be pretty easy. Hit your head on that ceiling of 100, and then, maybe look at it on a Monday, and then the following Monday, did you grow by 20? Did you grow by 60? And then that's the best way to track it. But people put too much weight into like, should the message say, and what should I say in these connection requests? And I wish that I could show you some of the connection requests that I get on my profile. I don't want to call anybody out, but they're all pretty generic. Like, hey, I noticed that you're an industrial marketing agency. Have you ever considered about owning a franchise? Nope. Hey, I noticed that you're an industrial marketing agency. Are you like most CEOs and looking for hundreds of leads a month? Because we can help you with that. Nope, I'm not. It's like these generic things that people come up with, but it's so ridiculous. And you just need to keep it super simple, but make sure that your profile is relevant. What else we got, Nick? I like the idea of changing my methods of contact when trying to get in touch with a prospect, but how much is too much? Like, should it be just one attempt per week, no matter what, or one a week on each? Let me reread that again. Yeah, I think, I mean, so like on that, you don't want to be annoying, right? But people are always too hesitant to reach out because they don't want to be annoying. So I think that you can reach out to people once a week and not be annoying as long as you're not saying the same thing over and over again. So if you're just saying, like, for instance, if you send somebody a proposal, and you're like, "Hey, I'm just following up with that proposal. Want to see if you guys made a decision yet, had the meeting," and then a week later saying, "Hey, just touching base again," you're just changing the beginning of the phrase or beginning of the sentence. That to me is a bit ridiculous. You need to change it up, right? You need to say, like, touch them on email, and then maybe a week later you give them a phone call, leave a voicemail, and then send an email. Those things always go together. People always forget that. If you call and leave a voicemail, you need to send an email immediately after you left the voicemail, because you don't know what their preferred method of contact is. Maybe your emails aren't getting seen, maybe they're in spam. So you pick up the phone, call them, leave a voicemail, send them an email saying, "Hey, Joe, I just left you a voicemail on your desk phone, on your cell phone, whatever, following up on this or wanting to get your input on that." Those are things that you can do. Then go on to LinkedIn, shoot them a message on LinkedIn. I mean, I do this on a weekly basis, trying to come up with creative ways to re-engage with people that we quoted that all of a sudden started ghosting us. There's a million ways to do it. You just have to get creative, but just change the method of contact each week and you won't annoy them, because the thing is, most of the time they didn't even see what you previously sent, or they did, but they've just been too busy to respond. I mean, after like 6, 8 attempts, and move it to once a week to once every few weeks, and then you definitely won't annoy them. But don't forget about them. Benjamin, thanks. My main struggle is not having much content from the principal that I can use for marketing. Yeah, dude, like that's the issue. I don't know. I feel like if I own a manufacturing company, I'm like, hey, like, keep in mind this. A lot of people that own manufacturing companies that hire outside sales reps, like, first question I ask is, do you have any internal salespeople? If they say no, that's because they don't want to commit the money to hire an internal salesperson, and they want to have an outside rep that's paid on commission. Usually 99% of the time it's commission only. They don't want to invest the resources. Maybe there's trust issues, maybe there's financial issues. They don't want to invest the resources into that department because they don't want to wait for the return on it. So they want to say, I'm just going to hire a rep. The rep will bring me business. They're not going to get paid until I get the business. So it's a win-win for everybody. But the issue is they don't then support the reps most of the time. They just say, like, dude, you're a rep. You know these people, reach out to them and get me business, and then maybe I'll build a marketing department. Maybe I'll hire MFG Tribe to create some dope content for me. But that's not usually the way it works. You have to create the content first. So if they're not creating it and supporting you, then you need to try and create it yourself. It doesn't have to be some high quality, high value production stuff. It should just be anything that you can create, whether it's pulling stuff off of their website, directing people to specific internal pages of their website, writing something that you know about them, creating something, because at the end of the day, it's going to value you, right? Because you're the one that's getting paid commission on it. So if it's going to value you, you need to put some time and effort into it. You can also shoot the videos yourself and then hire somebody on the side that's going to edit it. You can learn how to do video editing and go shoot videos. I mean, it's easy to do if you use like basic programs and things like that, just keeping it super simple. You can even just not even edit it and just shoot footage, go to their facility, shoot some footage, and then post that on LinkedIn, talking about, that principle. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to do it, but I would agree that you're in a tough spot if they're not willing to give you any resources. I would challenge that company, and I would say that if they have nothing, literally no content whatsoever, maybe they shouldn't be your principal, and you should shop for somebody that's willing to support you. Hello, what is the one advice you would give a social media marketing agency just starting out? Oh, we're getting into small business. This show has certainly taken a change, right, Nick? From what we were planning on, just answering 3 questions that we had. Now we're getting comments, which is great. Maybe that's how the show will go. Just be rapid fire answering comments. You're starting a social media marketing agency. The advice I would give you is, don't think that you're going to make any money, substantial money, for the first 5 years. Also understand that everybody has a social media marketing agency, most likely even in your country or town that you're in, and everybody's the same. So you have to figure out, how are you different? I would say go and do things for free first. So find somebody that is a local business that you can do whatever it is that you do for social media, whether it's running paid ad campaigns, whether it's just posting their organic stuff, trying to drive people to their service or their product, do it for free, build a case study on that, create images from it, show people what you're doing, put that on your website before you ask people to pay you to do the service. But the tough thing with starting a social media marketing agency is like I said, everybody has one. And whether it's one person in their mom and dad's basement and they're 21, or it's one person that has a 80 square foot office at an office share space, like it seems these days like everybody's got an agency. And maybe that's just me because I see it in the town that we're in. But even when we were in Chicago, like everybody's like, oh, I own a social media marketing agency. The issue is that most people start a business because they want to get rich, right? And so you need to go into understanding like, dude, you're not going to get rich. Could you possibly land some whale clients and make 40, 20, 40, $60,000 a month on those? Yes. But is it sustainable? Is it going to be around for multiple years? Usually it isn't. I've seen so many videos of people that start an agency. They're like, look at my new Benz that I bought and all this shit. I mean, they just spend the money ridiculous because they got it, but they're not reinvesting back into the business. So I would say go into it knowing that 3 to 5 years before you can actually have something of substance to be able to brag about and be able to make some good money. But start with free stuff. Do that a couple of times so you can go into somebody reliably and say, look, I'm gonna charge you $1,850 a month to do this for you. Here's 3 companies I did it for already. Here's proof in the pudding. This is what the goal was. This is what we accomplished. Are you willing to trust me to handle your social media stuff? And if you don't have that, then it's just like, look at my website. And then it's a lot tougher of a sale. But if you have some sort of proof, some sort of referral, quotes, like testimonials, anything like that, that's going to be a better chance of getting it done. But definitely be in it for the long run. All right, Benjamin, I'm glad that does help, dude. Yeah, I if I were you, I'd be like, I should probably drop this principle and find somebody better because there's tons of them out there that need it. A pre-show question. I work in SaaS, and while looking for new prospects, I've been contacted by customers' competition. We're a young company. I don't know if I should look at that option. What do you think? Throw that back up there, Nick. Let me reread that. I've been contacted by a customer's competition. Oh, okay. So it depends, right? Like dealing with competitors. If you're in a SaaS type company, then usually I would say that you could probably work with all the competitors, right? If you're going into whether it's like a lawyer space, dentist space, retail space, things like that. If it's a SaaS product, it shouldn't really matter if you're working with competitors. But if you're on a different type of service, sometimes that could be a differentiator for you to where you don't work with competition. So there's some strategic groups for us at MFG Tribe where if you're in one of these manufacturing verticals, we do not work with competition because we do not want both companies. If we have 2 customers, they're going after the same end customers. We don't want to be fighting internally and figuring out like who's better than who. And then like that gets in a whole messy situation. So we just pick one partner. If it's we have a group of specific verticals in industrial where we only work with one partner. And so that's how we look at it. But if it depends on if it's competition or not, right? Like SaaS is typically, you can work with all the competitors in the field. But in industrial and stuff like that, at least from our standpoint, we pick one company, that's our partner, and we run with it. So if there is a conflict of interest, if your current customer wouldn't care that you're working with their competition, as long as there's NDAs in place, you're not sharing information, then I would say engage in both. And that's how you could actually build a nice little niche case study where you can say, we have this whole industry and here's all the players we work with in this industry or that are using our product in this industry. That then could sell other people to say like, oh, this company uses it, they're our competitor, we should look at it and use it too. So it could be a benefit for you. I'm an old dog in the sales world, and I just don't like the idea of using LinkedIn and social media. I just don't see the value in it, and I don't think I need it with the connection. I don't think I need it with the connections in my network. Yeah, I would say most likely you suck then. Not to call out old people because I'm getting pretty old myself. If you're not willing to adapt and adjust to the tactics that work, then you will die. If you're not willing to try something new when your old methods are not getting you the RFQs or the RFPs or the response that you want, then you will be forgotten about. A lot of people that say comments like that have become complacent, where they're just like, they like making what they make. They like the flow of sales and revenue that they get. So they're complacent and they're comfortable, and they're just like, I just want to ride this out. I'm going to be retiring in 5 years. And that's where, if the owners are paying attention to it, they will cut those people, cut the legs out from under them, bring in a younger workforce that's willing to hustle and grind, that has more ambition and higher goals. But I would say flat out, if you're not willing to adjust and adapt to what works today, then you will be dead in the industry within the next 2 to 3 years. All right, so that's all of the questions we have right now. Nick, do you want to take a quick commercial break on this show? We'll take a quick commercial break. We'll be back in 90 seconds, and then we'll close things out. Dream job for a sales engineer, I break it down into two main areas: opportunity and support. I mean, some people want to have the entire country or entire region under their belt to be able to travel and do all that stuff. Whereas other people, if they've got family and kids and they don't want to travel as much, then maybe the opportunity for them is working remote, not going into the office every day. And the second thing is going to be support. One of the most golden handcuffs for anybody in technical sales, they get brought in as a hunter. So they're hired like, I need you to hunt for business. I want you to grow my company, grow my region, whatever it is, right? They land the new business, they bring it in. And because you don't have the support team in place, you have now just put on the golden handcuffs onto a salesperson, which is, you did your job, you're getting paid for that job. But now I need you to actually handle that, which is going to take you away from hunting for more business. I would say the best CRM for you to use would be HubSpot. And I'm not saying that because we are a partner with them. I'm saying that because I've used almost every single type of CRM out there. What it comes down to at the end of the day is, what are your people actually going to use? You can have the best CRM system, but if they don't use it, it doesn't matter. I mean, HubSpot's cheap. You can get into it for $50 a month. And it does everything you need it to do for $50 a month. You don't have to go to the marketing professional at $800 or $850 a month. I think too often industrial companies are using Salesforce. And like I've said in other episodes, Salesforce is more of an enterprise solution. It's not something that's great for like 5 people, but HubSpot's the easiest to use, easiest to integrate, and it can grow with you as you grow. For sales, working with estimating, yes. If you're just getting started, if you have a small company, I could see you doing all that. The line I wouldn't want to have to cross is doing the sales, doing the estimating, and then also creating whatever it is. When I started this agency 6 years ago, I was literally doing everything. I didn't have my first employee or help for probably 6 to 9 months. So I was building the web, doing all the sales, running the business, doing all the project management. I did it all myself. And so eventually start getting people under you to take pieces of your responsibility off of your plate so you can look at bigger picture. That's usually the way to grow and scale a company. So I would say if your company is small, yes, that is normal. But I would want to try and make sure that there's a plan in place with the ownership or the bosses to make sure that that's not the long-term path that you're going to go down. All right, we're back. It's 12:44. We've been going for 29 minutes, and I have a meeting in 14 minutes I need to get to. So, guys, this is the new format for right now on Mondays. What we are doing is, if you have questions that come up, whether you're watching this on replay or not, you can put them in the comment section, and we will be looking at those. Or you can send us an email at askkyle@mfgtribe.com. And then every week we're going to be pulling from those questions, and then we'll be pulling some stuff from the live comments and answering those questions as well. So stay tuned for all of our content every single week. Wednesdays, we will be talking about industrial marketing and technical sales. Mondays for right now is going to be Q&A with Kyle. Maybe we'll put some graphics up there because that sounds kind of good. So for right now, guys, be sure to go to the YouTube channel, subscribe, turn on notifications, follow me on LinkedIn, and we will see you on the next